Thank you for joining us, listeners, on a Tuesday. Tuesday's the day we set aside to get an update in Elko City news. We're so pleased to have our Assistant City Manager, Dale Johnson, in studio. Today's discussion is in advance of the regular council meeting, so we'll get into those agenda items. Budget's on there, some pretty cool happenings, and so we'll get up to date with Dale. And Dale, thanks again. We are going to open up the program just with a brief discussion about the homicide investigation of yesterday's murder-suicide at the Elko airport. But just first acknowledging that the community is mourning this, as well as supporting all of our emergency rescuers, everybody from the city, the airport manager, to all the police officers. Dale, I mean, everybody that responded to this is likely to be impacted.
Yeah, they will. It's a traumatic situation for all those involved. City staff, as you said, police, fire, EMS. Yeah, such a traumatic situation.
We do want to let listeners know that the victim of the murder-suicide at the airport was identified. He was an 11-year-old boy. His name, Callan Perez. He suffered multiple gunshot wounds. He was shot by his father, 37-year-old Giovanni Perez. The elder Perez then died by suicide. He was found inside the terminal in the airline ticket counter. I'm talking to Lieutenant Shane Daz, Dale. There were many witnesses, again, many bystanders, TSA agents, the people at the rental car agency, certainly other people that had business there at the airport, in addition to airport staff.
Yeah, that's correct. And we're lucky nobody else was involved in the shooting or were hurt in this crazy ordeal. Yeah.
It's very distressing. It involves a child. This is a family, father and son. They were traveling. Their rental vehicle apparently got disabled outside of Winnemucca. They got towed to Elko. They were at the airport as the elder Giovanni Perez was there to rent another vehicle for some unknown reason. We have no idea. Both Perez's went into the restroom. Giovanni shot Callan and then exited and shot himself. And so there was a bomb squad response. They had to process the vehicle. They didn't know if there'd be anything inside the vehicle as well. Inbound and outbound flights were impacted. We should be back to normal by about now, Dale.
It should probably be tonight's flight.
Tonight now?
Would be
okay.
The one that may go out or come in. Yeah, at this point, the airport's still closed. They have some cleaning and maintenance work to do to get the airport back open.
So obviously the best bet is to visit the website, flyelkonevada.org or .com, I think it is. Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
That'll give you all the latest.
Yeah, you can also go to the Delta website or reach directly out to Delta.
But again, a very tragic circumstance. No explanation for what had happened, but local law enforcement, Lieutenant Shane Daz, he's been our source of information for this incident. He is, of course, the liaison between police detectives, emergency rescuers. He just wanted us to implore anybody at any time, anywhere, who is experiencing a mental health issue, whether you believe it's large or small, whether you don't feel supported, but please reach out to a mental health provider. Call 988. That is the National Suicide and Crisis Line. The other thing I guess I could add, Dale, is that it is not believed that the Perez's are local. We don't know their hometown. So
yeah, we don't know that information yet, but we do want to express our deepest condolences to the family.
And again, thank you to the responders. You will never know the depth of our appreciation. It coincides with the announcement on Friday of a new program. It's called RUSH, and it is intense mental health support for emergency responders. Dale, I'm sure you've heard of that.
I have, yeah, and this was actually activated yesterday by our district attorney and our HR department.
Oh, good. It's a very important resource, and take advantage of it. You don't have to respond right away. Everybody experiences grief and trauma in a different way, but just from some of us who are older and didn't have these resources, please know that it's very typical that if you suppress this kind of stress or trauma, it can resurface in other ways in your life later on. So this is a very important part of mental health. Just mental health is just as important as your heart health, as having your cancer screenings, as all the other things that we do so that we can live long, happy, healthy lives.
That's correct. And we want to make sure everybody knows that 988 number. If you ever have any feelings of distress or anything, you should really reach out to them.
Dale, thank you. Dale Johnson is our Assistant City Manager. We just wanted to spend a little time starting out with that latest news and information. And then veering on to our council agenda, we'll get into the meat of it, and then we can back up if we need to, Dale. But there is quite a bit of budget news. We're nearing completion of the budget, and Julie Davis has been hard at work on this. She's our Financial Services Director. But now it's go time. The council has to make some pretty serious decisions about where the spending might go.
Yeah, we're up against a deadline for our tentative budget, which is due tomorrow to the state. So council will have to consider some different items during the presentation tonight, one of them being the CPI increase for non-represented employees of 2.5%. The budget has been drafted with that increase. I do want to mention that the collective bargaining unit floor of 3% for OE and fire is also included in that. And then patrol and sergeant contracts are pending at this time.
Now, there are some personnel issues to be looked at, whether or not to enact a freeze or simply, but there is no anticipated reduction in force, right, Dale?
That's correct. There's no reduction in force at this time. We are actually looking at a possible full-time employee for the building department to take on the technical assistant position to help our two building permit techs. So that would be a great asset to the building department. Might make things flow a little better over there and give them the needed help they require.
Well, certainly, and it's reflected in the agenda, not if not this meeting in particular, but past and future agendas, building is definitely going in the right direction here in the city of Elko.
Yes, it is. We have a lot of things moving on and along with subdivisions, so we're starting to have an abundance of permits. So, yeah, they're pretty busy right now, and we're just working through their processes, try to improve them, and getting them some help will be a benefit.
While the building department is not an enterprise fund, they are certainly, it's reflected in not just this budget, but in previous code updates that more folks are paying for the services that they get, and that seems only fair.
Yeah, during our code updates this year, we did have some fee increases, so where fee increases come along, they start making some additional funds, so we can put that back into a position to help the community.
Any other issues under personnel that you think might be interesting to listeners, Dale?
Not that I'm aware of at this time. We have a number of positions open.
You are hiring.
We are hiring. We have a building official, a facilities maintenance technician, an airport operations maintenance technician, firefighter at this time.
Yeah, so it's going forward. So that's always good. Hiring employees is an investment into, the productivity of our city. So when you can have qualified professionals in these positions, it does improve, the quality of life, and it helps people to build and develop and keeps us safe and on and on. So there will be consideration, though, of the donations that the city of Elko is able to make. And I think listeners should be aware that this can be tied directly to the collection of room taxes, for example, to help pay for some of the amenities. When some of these properties fall behind, it's the citizens of the community that can suffer because we're not getting money to pay for things that need to be repaired or even built new.
Yeah, we have a number of community donation requests that they need to review and approve. Some of those being the Boys and Girls Club, California Trail, CADV, Elko Transit Authority, the new Elko High School track that they're proposing to build. The Homecoming Committee for the high school, FISH, is another big one we typically donate to every year, and they're also on the agenda for a letter of support this year from City Council, which is really good. City Council's supporting all their efforts in the community they make.
Absolutely. And if you're interested, you can find the individual allotments listed in the budget, which is attached to today's agenda. Visit elkocity.com, go to city meetings, and then you can click on the agenda. The blue highlighted items are where you can find the attachments. And as you were saying, so the bottom line on all of the council's considerations for community donations, Dale, do you have that?
Yes, it was $1,008,500.
All right. So that is what is being considered. Going forward, this is a tentative final budget, and so there may be some discussion. If you are in one of the groups that's represented, it's always a good idea to be on hand or have a representative. That way, if there are questions, because sometimes when budget gets tight like this, they have to make tough decisions, Dale.
Yeah, and there was a few more on the list there that I didn't mention, but for those who are on the list, yeah,
check it out.
Yep.
And then there's also discussion of equipment, which, the big stuff is like new fire trucks, for example, ordering police vehicles. We just had a presentation on that, including police vehicles for take-home, which would improve, apparently, morale for the police department and also help to hire and retain officers.
Yeah, that's correct. A lot of the police officers in the area, like the NHP and Sheriff's Department, they all take their home vehicles home, and this is a request for 14 new patrol vehicles, and part of that request is for each officer to take home their own patrol vehicle, which they would be the one that's required to oversee that vehicle, make sure it's maintained, and through our fleet department. But they'd be the ones driving it daily.
So something to keep in mind too, for those, the council will be considering the equipment request, but each department has been consulted about what their priorities are, right, Dale? So this isn't a wish list.
Yeah, this isn't a wish list. This is also added on to the list of all the other department requests. So on another budget presentation sheet here, we have all the department requests with all their items that they would like to purchase this year. And there's a pretty good fund balance there. So we'll see.
Maybe all the wishes can come true.
Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So, and we would try to make sure and spread that out through each department so everybody's getting something of their requests.
And I think it helps, Dale, that now that you're in this position of assistant city manager, coming from Public Works the way you did, that the big ticket items are the equipment, the infrastructure, all that capital that goes into it.
Yeah, they are. Like our Public Works department is requesting a paver this year, which would be a great asset to the street department for repairing roads that are existing and even doing some projects in-house where we wouldn't have to bid some of that stuff out. We can go out and do little sections here and there. And that price tag on that's about $260,000. For instance, last year, the water department and sewer department needed a crane truck, which will be delivered this Friday. That price tag was a little heftier than that, but they are an enterprise fund. So, and then with our fire department, JJ's been banking for 3 years now for a truck, and it's been on order, and I think the final payment will go next year, and they'll be able to get a new fire engine.
Yeah, that's exciting. And again, it just goes to show what planning and communication and the city departments, obviously, I'm sure there are times that there's, no, we need this more than you need that, but it happens.
Yeah, and then there's other departments like the golf course or the parks department who need lawnmowers and things like that all got to be considered, And this is a hefty price on these police vehicles, but if it pencils out, then yeah, it should be a good asset for the community.
So not including enterprise funds, I guess we could mention how are the enterprise funds do? Are they all independent? That's usually the goal. That's desired.
Yeah, that's right. Like our airport, that's an enterprise fund. Our golf has an enterprise fund. Our landfill is an enterprise fund. Water is a separate enterprise fund from sewer. Even though they're two of the same type of infrastructures, they are separate enterprise funds between the two.
And it's important that those are some of the most expensive departments, even though fire and police are obviously labor intensive and equipment, but it's the water and sewer, which you got to have. And so,
yeah, we have to have that, but we also need public safety. And so.
So those considerations, the council will be looking at, and they'll be able to ask their questions. Some of them, I'm sure, have done their homework, and they will already know the answers. But any of those questions will come up during this afternoon's meeting. Let's see. We did want to talk about the reserve fund, right? Is that the rainy day fund?
So the facilities reserve fund.
Oh, the facilities one, yes.
Is basically our fund that we fund for new construction of buildings. So that could be used for like a new city hall, new police station, new fire station. We just paid off the PD about a year ago, so that fund's continuing to increase. So we do have 2 new buildings on the docket to be reviewed and for council to make a determination if we should go forward with, bonding of these facilities or trying to purchase them outright, using that fund.
How much is in the reserve fund, Dale?
About $10.2 million currently.
Okay. And that could obviously be leveraged, as you said, toward any of those funding mechanisms that are discussed.
Yeah, it's one of those funds that can't be used for anything but facilities. So, yeah.
It can't go to raises or anything like that. And so the 2 projects that we have, obviously, the City Hall is out for design. Is that right?
Yep, it's in design, and that's one thing that we're waiting on. We have a preliminary design. If we want to continue the process and bring that project to fruition, then we need the actual design of the building with the mechanical, HVAC, things like that.
And things don't get cheaper by the day. They get more expensive. So It is a big decision. And then of another building, is it fire station or animal shelter?
Well, there is a fire station that we have a design on. Again, we'd have to do some additional design to get that one to where it could be constructed, but that's where these 2 are on here. We're currently in design right now for an animal shelter, and we are trying to leverage funds with
Lasso?
Lasso.
Yes,
Lasso.
The nonprofit.
Yeah, Lasso's trying to fund that to construct that building when we have a design.
I think the city learned, other entities are also learning, whether it's in Winnemucca. I mean, the value, if you can pair with a nonprofit or a private foundation, your dollar will go farther, because if they can steer these designs and get the contractor, because I think the city council approved the contractor, the same contractor that did the Boys and Girls Club's Aquatic and Recreation Center.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it Clay Myers?
Well, it's Myers Anderson.
Thank you, Myers Anderson.
Out of Idaho.
Yes. So that they are chosen to do, and now we're just waiting for the design. And of course, the animal shelter will be, again, a city, a municipal, but then also private nonprofit endeavor. So should result in more shelter for the money.
Yeah, and we should be able to have a new facility for the animals and be able to increase the capacity a little bit. So, when we have some of these issues like we had a month and a half ago with hoarding of animals, and that was a terrible deal.
That was a sad deal. But, you're right. There was a hoarding situation in Montello out in the county. Very sad. An elderly woman was found. She was ill. She was in the house. And so they were able to get her medical attention, and then the animals were relinquished. And the best thing about social media is seeing the happy stories, and we've seen lots of happy stories with the local animal shelter. Alyssa Mangum is going to be recognized during today's council meeting for her work and her staff, because she's just going to be doing backflips saying, no, it was my staff, everybody, all the volunteers. They took those animals in. We had to close our shelter to the local population until they got those animals through.
Yep,
So,
but they were able to get most of those animals home that were able to be homed, and that was great.
yeah, they went to specialty rescue groups, and Shelties are a very sensitive type of dog, and these dogs need a lot. They need veterinary care, probably ongoing for their lives, and there were some puppies involved, and so it just had a very happy ending.
Yeah, these aren't everyday cases, but it shows that the facility we're currently in is pretty maxed out at what we can do there, and it's time for an upgrade.
Yeah, so Alyssa will be recognized during this afternoon's council meeting. That starts at 4 o'clock this afternoon at the Elko City Council chambers. Are those the highlights of the budget, Dale? Do you think?
Those are pretty much the highlights of council decisions that need
Yeah.
to be made, but Julie will go through probably in the entire budget presentation again once more before she submits for tentative budget to the state.
All right. So hopefully, council members, you've all done your homework. You've examined the spending. There'll be that budget summary presented. It is the tentative final. And there are enterprise funds, which those are gone over separately, right, Dale?
They're in this packet, but they will go through all the enterprise fund, the general fund, and everything else in the budget.
So that'll be a big portion of today's meeting. So bring your reading glasses.
It usually takes a little time.
Yeah, but it's
important.
It's important. Yes, those are our resources and our investments. So we want to make sure we veer back onto I did want to give a quick shout out because I saw from the water department today, I was paying my water bill at City Hall. I'm one of the people that likes to do it in person. I like doing that. I think it's because, when I was a kid and my grandma took me around to pay bills, it was kind of a social thing. I liked paying bills in person. So we paid the water bill, and they checked in. They said the water meter installation is going well. So I want to give a shout out to them.
Yeah, they did. I just saw Andrew today, and he did say that same thing.
Good. So we got your mention in. Till next time you get to be on the radio with us and tell us all about it. So of the things on the agenda, let's see, we talked a lot about the budget because we knew that's a lot of what the agenda will have on it. But there's an urgent replacement need for the roof at Fire Station number 2, and apparently we have some money to cover that at $36,850.
Yeah, that's the roof at the Fire Station number 2. That's one of our volunteer stations. That roof needs to be replaced, but this comes from our ad valorem tax for these repairs. We also have emergency repair of the street department HVAC unit that went out for $12,100. It'll also come from the same ad valorem budget.
Just like in your house, if your water heater goes out or the dishwasher or whatever, you have to be able to replace it, right?
That's right.
Okay, Dale. And then, this one's interesting. We need to set up an account for the police department so they can buy drugs as part of the task force at Wells Fargo.
Yeah, Julie Davis will be setting up a new account at Wells Fargo for the police department. The state of Nevada Police Investigation Division has asked us to take over the funds that is for the city of Elko. It's approximately $9,000 that will be going into this fund, but like you said, the funds may be used to purchase information, drugs, narcotics, authorized investigative expenses and rewards, or to pay a cooperating source. So
Right. So I was kind of flip about it, but it's a serious endeavor. I mean, this is how the work gets done. And the fact that the city supports having an NDI member, every entity should be able to do that, Dale, because it makes a huge difference in the interdiction effort.
Yeah, and we'll be able to manage those funds, and then our finance department will oversee that budget and allocate those funds where necessary.
And then under presentation, as we talked about, Alicia Mangum will be getting recognition from Southland Collie Rescue for all that work in rescuing those animals that had been hoarded. It's Children's Mental Health Action Week, and Oh, what a great turnout at the Children's Advocacy Center of all the pinwheels, Dale, and we just have a very caring community. So
Yes, we do.
yeah, so that's nice. That's a good feeling. There'll be a proclamation also to honor and appreciate the life and legacy of Mike Musgrove, Elko's VFW, but of course so much more, and all of his contributions his wife Carol continues to give. She's a very dedicated volunteer at the California Trail Interpretive Center. But Mike, we have big shoes to fill in this community to make up and pick up and continue the work that Mike was doing on our behalf.
Yeah, the mayor will be reading those proclamations for Mike Musgrove and the Children's Mental Health Action Week tonight. That's a big part of the mayor's duties, and reading these proclamations and acknowledging, community members.
That's right. And if you are listening and you think of, for example, you thought, I always wondered why we didn't, right? Maybe we should recognize or remember. You can research things at the museum. You can submit histories and archives and photographs. You can make sure your loved one or someone that you just admired in the community is remembered. The Elko Senior Center has some great memorial opportunities, as does the museum. But also, these proclamations are not reserved for just certain people, right, Dale? I mean, people can also submit their request.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's a nice opportunity if you'd like to have someone recognized. And then what else is going on that jumps out for you on the agenda?
We're going to have another update from Rusty Bar at the Boys and Girls Club on the Recreation Center. So
they're hard at work on the old pool. I saw that today just driving by. The doors are open and they're moving stuff in and out, and they're going to make that into a cool little hangout, I guess.
Yeah, that's a proposed plan. That's part of our LWCF conversion project that's later on in new business, where we'll be doing a presentation for the city council on what the conversion process is going to entail. The swimming pools, old swimming pools, part of that.
It means you have to, if you use land that was appropriated for a certain recreation, then you have to augment that land with another parcel somewhere.
Yeah, and the reason is we took grant funds for some of these projects to be constructed and built, like the parks. With the swimming pool, it was one of the HVAC units that was up on the roof. We took a grant, so that encumbered that building. So that indoor building can only be used for indoor purposes for recreation. The only two indoor purposes that are allowed under LWCF, which is our Land Conservation Water Fund through state parks, is swimming pools and indoor ice rinks.
Oh.
So that complicates things because the pool is no longer usable.
And let's not start the rumor it's an ice rink, because we've got a great igloo. We already have a wonderful ice rink. Yes.
So it's not going to be an ice rink,
Nope.
But we are going through a conversion process that will allow us to unencumber that pool building, and then it would be up to the council to determine if they want to go down this process. And then if they do, then after that process is complete, we could re-amend the lease to the Boys and Girls Club for whatever they want to use that facility for.
Right, so they can really dig in and get to work on it and transform it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that council's going to have to decide on with this land, water, and conservation. There's part of it has to do with the museum. During some of the expansions, they've built into encumbered land. So that's part of the conversion process. So there's some decisions there they're going to have to make. And then there's some decisions on what properties we're going to use to offset these encumbered properties. So
Good news is you do have some targets, and one of them is about 4 acres where you could possibly pop in a little park at the Faith Evangelical Lutheran Church on Stitzel Road, because that little neighborhood doesn't have a park.
it does not. There's not a park in the vicinity of that area. So that would be a good asset to the community. Again, council's going to have to make those decisions on which direction we want to go. And if that's a property that they may want to acquire in the future.
We know good things take time, and that's why sometimes these things appear on the agenda. Our urban fishery is in the works. The museum expansion is another one that's taking time because it's a good thing. They've got a lot of donations to get in line.
Yeah, that project's also going well. We're in the design phases. We actually have another meeting tomorrow morning with Endow, our architect for the design of the park, and then all their engineers that they brought on will be involved in that meeting, and city staff.
That's going to be a great little park there off of Sharps Access.
That's correct.
So that's going to take up some of our discussion during the afternoon city council meeting that opens at 4 today. We're talking with our assistant city manager, Dale Johnson. I want to make sure we're not leaving out any big things. Again, pop online, elkocity.com, look over the agenda. All the attachments are highlighted in blue, so you can click on everything. There is going to be discussion of amending fees at Ruby View Golf Course. Important to note that this was all decided by committee, people who use the golf course.
That's correct. That was our golf's advisory board that had the meeting here, and they've decided to increase the fees there. Some of the green fees are going to be increased. I believe season passes are going up a little bit, about $25 per pass. That does not include young adults or juniors, but it's this single passes, senior single, and the active military are all going up. The punch cards are going up about $10, and then the cart rental fees are going up about $1 to $2, depending on if it's 9 holes or 18 holes.
All right, that's the proposal before the council. When they meet, they have the final say. But again, the Golf Course Advisory Committee has made those recommendations, so there really shouldn't be any concern or opposition. And it's springtime, which means it's micro slurry season.
It is. We're going to be doing about 48 more roads for our micro slurry. That also going to include 4 parking lots, 2 of those in the corridor, one of the street department parking lots, and one of the Herrera fields. So,
remember when streets were just the big deal all the time? Potholes were that was a crisis if we had potholes. Yeah.
Yeah. The micro slurry project is going to be 273,000 square yards, and then that project's going to come in we're estimated about $902,000.
And do we get to use money that would have been used for snow plowing for that? Or
well, this is budgeted in our budget every year for street maintenance, and we budget about $975,000 in there every year. Any money funds left over from winter maintenance, things like that, just go back into the street department fund. So
we'll be ready for a big winter if we ever get one again.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Dale, is there anything that we didn't talk about either on the agenda or that was off the agenda that you wanted to make sure people are aware of?
One thing we do have tonight is Ordinance 909. This went to the Planning Commission, which was a total repeal and replacement of section of Code 3218 for conditional use permits. There's a lot of added updates in this new code.
We haven't. I have to admit, we probably have neglected that because it is an overhaul of the codes that governs home-based business, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of those were home-based businesses. We went to 3 home-based businesses and 1 resident versus the 1 that we previously had. Some of their stipulations, they can't have more than 5 customers there a day, but it does loosen things up so multiple people in the home could own their own business.
Yeah, so it enhances small business opportunities. Does it retain many of the qualities that also protect, the definition of a neighborhood?
It does. So it does protect that on a number of vehicles or trailers that can be parked at the home for those businesses. So there are stipulations on what can and can't be done out of a home. Some of the things that can't be are worship houses or cosmetology businesses. So.
Oh, those are the ones not permitted.
Not permitted.
Yes.
Yep. But there's a number of them that are permitted. So those
Okay.
are the two main ones that come up.
Is it the first reading tonight?
It is going to be the first reading.
Okay, so there'll be a couple of opportunities to do your homework and read them over and obviously bring any questions.
Yeah, one thing we did add into this one was childcare. A person can run a childcare out of their facility.
And that's desperately needed.
Yeah, and part of the stipulations on that our code didn't align with the state codes was the requirement for outdoor space that the state required. Our code didn't allow that, so now our code's going to allow that, so they'll be able to be signed off through the city and the state.
Oh, good, Dale. Well, we will make sure we have a future program. This is just the first reading of that overhaul of the small home-based business and possible impacts. And obviously, this is being done to, to accommodate small businesses, but also, as we just talked about, to protect neighborhoods in the community.
Yeah, Kathy will be presenting this tonight at City Council. Her and Rachel have done a lot of work on this. Same with Dave Stanton. He's helped out. I've helped out a little, but Kathy's really taken the reins on this one, and she's really made some great changes that are going to be great for the conditional use permits going forward.
Great. Sounds like the topic for a future radio show. Thanks, Dale.
Yep, thank you.
City Council meets at 4 this afternoon, and you can follow along in person at City Hall or online, elkocity.com.